today we have a guest called Blue. Hi, Blue.
Hello.
Blue is going to be helping me to give thoughts on the matches and also highlight some cool points. And hopefully, he can provide some support thoughts because as a DPS player, I have no support thoughts at all. So, the first match we have Sithcord versus Freakwatch Omega. So, what I noticed from this match was that Bonk got 3 kicks immediately in first fight of Sarasa. Really good clip by Bonk, good play by him. But I think that got to his head a little bit because in the next fight, he wasted his Suzu on himself. So I think what's important to learn here is to keep a cool head on your shoulders and keep playing as you have instead of kind of letting the moment get to you.
During the first map, I see that Freakwatch played the cat. I have some very negative thoughts on that hero. Yes, it's a fun hero in comp. Yes, you can do the funny high noon stuff. But the problem is we don't have a Lucio anymore, right? So we have no defensive ult with beat. And if you really want to have all that vertical mobility around, let's just play Symmetra. It's a way better option.
I agree. There was actually a really funny moment where the cat actually almost accidentally booped a high noon into their whole team. The cast would have been in range, but I thought it was a really funny moment. As for players, I think Anti-Prime on Winston and Rolled on Sojourn are bright spots for Freakwatch Omega, but I think the Winston in particular will really struggle against the competent pokier teams in the division like Ledux. Moving on to the next match, Oceanside Tsunami versus Crimson Flame. This match was an absolute dogfight. I think the way this match opened up was absolutely insane. We had an immediate 2-pick by the Ran team against the D.Va one, but then it was immediately followed by the Ramatra refusing to take any semblance of space, so he fell into his side of spawn, which then the Sojourn decided to slide away from the rest of his team, and he was also left behind by his supports, mainly his Lucio. So then after the D.Va, on Harvest on D.Va was able to trade back the kills, we finally saw what we probably should have seen at the start with the Ramatra anchoring on point and his team stabilizing in a cluster, while the D.Va team took angles on the high grounds. And this is probably what we should have seen at the start, but it took a bunch of trades and basically a whole team fight before we got there.
What I watched, I saw Suravasa, and then in particularly, I would like to talk about Third Point and the absolute travesty that was. Third Point on Suravasa opens up with a certain Kiriko getting speared off the map with TP to start off, and then not even like 20 seconds later, I see a Juno pop her ult for fun, and then at the very end of Third Point, I see the Crimson Flame tank MTK sit behind a little pole or pillar and kills them for free because we didn't decide to check our corner.
And I think the ice cream on top was definitely a 2K with D.Va remake to top everything off. So this was a really fun match to watch. I also do think, on a different note, that I did really like the attempt to have a Tracer Curie off angle. I think this week in particular, we saw teams try to take angles, but I don't think the Tracer and Curie off angle was having much success in this match. So I would maybe like to see the Tracer swap off, and I would like to see Ash Thursday on the Kiriko play a little bit safer when going on the off angle as well. The next match we had Error 409 Conflict versus Vitality Flash. I actually also, like I said for the previous match, I like the attempt at angles with the Pharah and the Tracer, but I don't think it's good from anyone on the team that a Ram could just walk onto both supports and kill both the Curie and the Lucio.
I want to talk about Polar, how when Polar was able to hide on his angles as Tracer, I felt like he was almost always able to get a pick or two. And I think because of this, he was able to be a key piece for Vitality and will continue to be one moving forward. And I'm excited to see what he does in this season as a player.
I also really liked Tippy from Error 409 Conflict. I think he's someone that I'm going to be looking forward to this season as well. Next match is Eternal Surge versus Saint Trash Pandas.
So something I wanted to say about Surge first is, yes, I'm going to be a bit biased because I'm friends with some of these people. Some of these people have also been my old teammates in previous seasons. And I just wanted to say that first before I start hyping them up too much.
Same as well for me. I think Suravasa first fight was a very clear example of how much of a team Eternal Surge is. In this fight, they contested the angle, they got a pick, and then immediately afterwards, they shouted and collapsed on Saint Trash Pandas. And I think it's very classically the trait of Eternal Surge, as I've said before, where even throughout the seasons and different rosters, they've always been a really team that's coordinated and focused on the fundamentals, which is what I've really always liked about Surge.
To balance out the surge positivity here, if we face a better tracer going forwards, and we're gonna get farmed on Kiri Juno, just like what we ran on Gibraltar.
Fruit Salad versus Back in My Day is the next match, and this one was kind of a brutal 3-0 to watch.
I also want to say their tank on Back in My Day, Andy, did just a great job this match.
Orsted from Back in My Day hit some pretty crazy shots, especially on Rialto, where he got 3 picks on the bridge during attack. Also, just to note, because I didn't say anything about Fruit Salad last week as well, I am watching you guys. I know you guys are a Rhine team. Do not fear. I will be watching your progress with great interest.
So for Freak Max versus Buengus, I'm friends with a lot of people on Freak Max, so going into this code, I was actually really excited to see what happened on this circuit map. And I was actually very surprised when I saw McRice just go insane on the Widowmaker, and he kind of just took over the lobby. I was honestly slightly disappointed I didn't get to see as much of Freak Max, dominating as I wanted, and I was very impressed with Boingus here on circuit.
Just to add on to that, I definitely think McRice leans heavily towards the all-aim, no-brain Widow OTP category. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to adapt on other heroes. I also do believe that Zelemental is a very solid tank who was able to help McRice on circuit, and Zelemental was pretty solid throughout the whole series as well. Alright, so for this next match we have Ledux versus Goofy Goobers. This was not a very interesting 3-0, I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, neither do I. There was just an insane mechanical gap between Ledux and Goofy Goobers here. And the third map, Ledux started off rolling, so after that I kind of just tuned out.
For this next match we had Judgment Fold versus Apertia City.
I have a few notes from the Midtown map this series. I really love to see that Judgment Fold was attempting to take angles on their Lucio Onron. That made me happy to see that. And then I also wanted to point out, when you're playing into a Vendetta on Lucio, please, for the love of God, protect your hit scan more. It's so sad to see a Vendetta fly at full speed towards a hit scan and then die because my Lucio wasn't near my hit scan, and we lose our hit scan from the fight.
There was also a really funny moment on Circuit Royale where we had 9 ults used in a fight, and there were so many colors on the screen it started to look like Marvel Rivals. Next match we have DYS Kalos versus Zookeepers, and this is DYS Kalos' first match this season actually, because they had a bye last week.
Something I wanted to highlight on this match is I felt like Monster did a really good job of marking and dueling their Tracer for most of the match, and that is something I just wanted to highlight because I don't always see that. And then another thing I wanted to point out was Zookeepers did a really nice TP Sim OC play at 4 minutes, and it won them the fight.
And on that note, I like to point out that Commercial was the one who used the OC, and I think that him and Koala are particular bright spots for Zookeepers, because when the tempo really gets going for that team, they can really run away with the match off of the back of those two players, especially on Colosseo, where they kept the tempo up and that really made the difference. On the side of Kalos, I'd like to say that I'd want to see Skinny, their tank, use corners a little bit more and be careful of poke, especially when walking up. And I'd also really like to see the flex support player, Ellie, be more in sync with the tank's walks as well, because it kind of felt like a lot of fights were lost to momentum from the amount of poke that Kalos overall were taking, and they just couldn't deal with it effectively. As requested, here we have power rankings and predictions for next week. Some of these predictions are hot takes by me and Blue, but which ones are hot takes and which ones are actual real takes, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide.